Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin by sending my peace and blessings and giving my condolences to all of you and to the Imam of our time, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, on the passing or the shahadat of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. And Imam Baqir alayhi salam is one of our Imams, our fourth Imam in Shia Islam. And it's an Imam that for many people we notice that they seem to forget about his teachings or forget about his lives. So as a Shia, usually for someone like a regular one, a regular Shia, when you ask them about their Imams and you ask about their lives and their teachings, many of them can tell you about the life of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And they can tell you about the life of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And then they can tell you, of course, everyone knows the story of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and we hear it every single year. But how many of us truly know about Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam? We can see that after Imam al-Sajjad, some may even know them. But then when we reach to the fifth Imam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, we see that a lot of his life is not truly listened to, or it's not truly researched, or we don't take it upon ourselves to research that. So inshallah tonight I want to discuss some aspects of that life of Imam Baqir alayhi salam, our fifth Imam, regarding his life and regarding one of the important aspects of his life, one of the most important qualities that when I researched about this, it made me truly find a realization about the life of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. And we know that Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam has heard about a lot more, as he's the one who built that foundation of Shia Islam, of what it is today. When someone discusses our sect, what do they say? This is the Ja'fari sect. When they want to discuss our jurisprudence, our fiqh, they call it the Ja'fari fiqh. But the person who built the foundations for all of that was Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. It was after Imam Sajjad alayhi salam had passed away that Imam Baqir, during a time where there was a bit of infighting between the Umayyads and the Abbasids. And during that time, when the Abbasids were slowly rising, there were many different revolts. And it was during that time that they were very loose with the Imams. So when they were loose and when the Umayyads were very busy fighting against those revolts and calming those revolts, that was when Imam Baqir alayhi salam was able to truly build those foundations and start teaching and start building knowledge for his students. We can even see in his name, he is called what? He is called Baqir al-Ilm. To mean what exactly? It means for someone who splits knowledge. Someone who splits to search for knowledge. And it's very famous when we say that when we talk about Imam Baqir, there's three S's that we have to keep in mind about Imam Baqir alayhi salam. He splits knowledge, he seeks knowledge. So this is one of the three important aspects. He splits knowledge to find it. He seeks knowledge and he spreads knowledge. This is the third point. So when we look at Imam Baqir alayhi salam, we can see that his life was a life that he built on knowledge. And he brought people towards light with that way. So he's the one who is the splitter of knowledge. And many of us don't know that Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he was there on the day of Karbala. He was on those plains of Karbala, even though he was very young. He was there. He was very, very young during that time. He was still a baby. And he was taken to Sham. And he grew up in that kind of atmosphere of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, in a very difficult type of atmosphere. But after that, when he was growing older, he built the schools in which he started to teach. And he started to teach different aspects of knowledge: jurisprudence, theology, astronomy, science, philosophy. All of these were built during the time of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. For Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam, his son, after that, to increase that knowledge. And there is a very famous riwayah that I wanted to talk about. And it's often recalled when we talk about Imam Baqir alayhi salam. This is a riwayah from Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. So he's one of the followers or one of the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it is during that time that the Holy Prophet, when he's in the presence, he asks about the names of his descendants. And the Prophet says what? He says, "Oh Jabir, you have a long life, and although you'll go blind, you'll meet the fifth in line of my descendants, whose name will be my name, who will walk like me, who will be the fifth Imam of the time, and when you meet him, give salam to him. So ahead of time he tells them that, Ya Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, I won't be able to meet my fifth in my lineage, but you will be able to meet him. So say salam to me. And that's what happens. As the Holy Prophet predicts, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, he lives a very long life, and he becomes blind in his old age. And it is during that time when he's sitting on the street and he's waiting. And that time he starts to hear footsteps. And these footsteps, they remind him of who? The Holy Prophets. So he goes ahead and he meets the Imam. He says, who is this person? But he recognizes him. And on that day when he recognizes him, he stands up and he asks for his name. Who does he say? Imam Bakar alayhi salam, he says, Muhammad. So Jabir asks, whose son? He says, Ali ibn al-Husayn. And Jabir immediately recognized the man that he was talking to was the fifth Imam. And he kissed him and he told him the message of the Holy Prophet. And Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, he gives the Holy Prophet salam to his great-grandson. Salawat. Allah. And inshallah tonight I want to discuss a very important point. My time is short, but one of the fundamental points, or one of the most important points that I learned about the life of Imam Baqir alayhi salam, is this clemency. This is a very important word that I want for us to learn tonight. Clemency. And clemency is also called forbearance, or rather, al-hilm. And what is al-hilm? We hear it here. It's that ability to have a self-control, to have mercy, to show restraint. And this is one of the important aspects that today we have to look at. Because today we see that many people, when they hear something, they quickly respond to it in a very negative manner. They quickly lash out when they're lashed out towards. But Imam Bakar alayhi salam, he has that level of hilm. And we see in the Quran, in one of the verses, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. What does the Quran say? When the servants of the most compassionate, they walk on the earth humbly. And when the foolish address them improperly, they respond how? What do they say? Salam. They say salama. So those people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they walk on the earth, and when they are by the foolish people, they are addressed in a very negative manner, what do they respond with? They say salam. That's it. They don't take their time to respond. They don't respond negatively. Because today we see on social media, I'm sure many of people have seen it. If you are on social media like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we see there are so many different arguments and different discussions. I don't want to call them discussions because it's just a back and forth. I'm sure all of you have seen it. Where, for example, there was a very famous, just a few nights ago, I'm sure some of the younger brothers, they saw it. It was one of the posts by Islam Makachev. I'm sure you brothers saw it, right? So I took a chance just to check out the comments under it. And then we see some Shias, they stand up. When he posted about, with this nasheed, about killing the Rawafid, killing the Shia, okay? I want you to pay very important attention to this. He posted a photo with this nasheed. And with this nasheed, basically, we see under it, there are a bunch of Shias posting. And of course, when the Shias post, we see that there are a bunch of Sunnis, or rather Wahhabis, they respond under that. And they call them a bunch of names. And then what do? Then they respond with names back to them. And then it's just this back and forth and back and forth. I want you to pay attention to this. So this is just one example, of course. There's many different people who will call a Muslim or us with different names. But what is the worth of it to just sit there and argue and argue and argue between each other? And I was listening to this one sheikh that was here during Muharram. He was here a few months ago. And he says, I've never heard this argument online which finished with two people saying, I understand your point. That was a very good discussion. That was a very good debate. Never. And I can attest to that too. So we should never be in that state. If you see it, what does the Quran say? Salama, qalu salama. Okay? I want all of us to pay attention to this point of clemency. When you hear anything about you, you know that discussing with them or fighting with them has no point. قَالُوا سَلَامًا. And we see that Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he says what? Allah loves the modest and He loves the clement. He loves hilm, those who have hilm. And we see today, there's a discussion, we see that there's a very popular philosophy that's grown. And it's this philosophy of stoicism. I'm sure all of you have heard of stoicism. Or some of you might have heard of stoicism. And it's that level of self-control that one has to have. That we are not in control of our environment, but we're in control of how we respond to it. And to live a life full of virtue. And we see some people who are adherents to this philosophy, right? They listen to that philosophy. But we see that if there's any knowledge, one of the sources or where we can find it is from our Imams. Our Imams have talked about stoicism even then. The school of Marcus Aurelius, even then you can see it in the teachings of our Imams. When they discuss about clemency, when they discuss about hilm, it's no different from this stoicism philosophy that we find even today. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says what? He says, Al-hilm tamamul aql. He says, this clemency, this level of self-control, it is the peak of knowledge. Once we reach the highest level of knowledge, then we can reach that clemency. And I want to bring, of course, this very famous rawayah to show you how Imam Bakar alayhi salam had responded to someone who had attacked him. I'm sure some of you have even heard of this rawayah. There's a man who comes, who was a Ahlul Kitab. He comes to Imam al-Baqir and he's very aggressive towards him. He's very angry towards the Imam. And he starts shouting towards him, "You are Baqar." And many of us know what Baqar means. You are a cow. He's trying to say that Imam Baqir alayhi salam, whose name is Imam Baqir, the splitter of knowledge, the seeker of knowledge, the spreader of knowledge, he calls him Baqar. So he tries to make fun of him. Does Imam lash out at him? Does the Imam start, saying some bad words back to him? For example, let's say he's a Christian man. Does he start saying things about him or his religion? No, the Imam does not say it. Let's see what the Imam says. He treats him very kindly. He says, "Salam." He says, "No, I'm not Baqar. I am Baqir. That's my name." So then he hears that he hasn't gotten to him. So this person, he attacks him again. He says, "You're the son of a cook." Talking about his mother. He's saying that your mother was a cook. So he's trying to attack him then. The Imam smiles at him and it doesn't affect him. It doesn't faze him. The Imam says, "That's her job." So he gets even more angry. Then he says, "You're the son of a black woman." Ya Allah. The things that our Imam had to respond to. The jahl that was surrounding our Imams. We don't see that even today. We don't get that kind of things that the Imams had to deal with. But the Imam, after hearing this, he didn't become angry. And he treated him very kindly. He says, "If you are saying the truth, may Allah forgive you for trying to attack me in this way. If you're telling the truth, may Allah forgive you for shouting at me in this way. But if you're a liar, may Allah forgive you for lying." Subhanallah. This is Imam Baqir alayhi salam. This is the peak. This is when intelligence reaches the highest level, where it becomes hilm, where it becomes clemency. This is the point that we want to reach. When someone tries to attack you in any way, you treat them very kindly. You say, "No, that's not how it is. It's this way." And if they don't respond, قَالُوا سَلَامًا. You say, "Thank you." And this is one of the beauties of the Ahlul Bayt. That stoicism that we see today, it's shown in the life of Imam Baqir alayhi salam even back then. And he says, then the person, after he hears about this, then he feels so ashamed. He feels so ashamed upon hearing about this. And this is that clemency that we have to keep in mind for ourselves. It is our akhlaq. For we are the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. We are the ones who have to show the Ahlul Bayt out. And when we respond in a very negative way, it's not showing our negative akhlaq out. It's saying, okay, this is what the Ahlul Bayt have taught you. To start shouting or to say, to start screaming at someone. We say, no, that's not the teaching. I learned from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. I learned from him for me to be clement, for me to have hilm, for me to be able to have that self-control over myself. Because I am what? I am a representative of the Imams. And there's a very famous saying of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, "Kunu zayna lana, wa la takunu shaynan lana." He says, be a beauty for us. be an adornment for the Ahlul Bayt. Do not be a disgrace for them. Because for us as Muslims, for us as representatives of the Ahlul Bayt, we have to make sure that our akhlaq doesn't only reflect on us, it reflects on our teachings, on our backgrounds. So when you're able to have that self-control, and you're able to have and to show that akhlaq, that this is what the Ahlul Bayt has taught me, only then do people truly follow or learn about it. It's only through our akhlaq that we can show it or we can manifest what we've learned. And as we said, that clemency, that's the peak of aql. So once we reach that peak of aql, we're able to be clement. And my time is short, I know that. I think I'm almost done here. So inshallah, I'll finish on one of these final points about the rewards of it. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Al-hilm inda shiddat al-ghadab yu'minu ghadab al-jabbar. So the Imam says, clemency in the midst of severe anger will protect one from the anger of Almighty. When you're so angry and you're able to control that, when you're able to have clemency there, it helps you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day when He is angry for your actions. It helps you and protects you. And in the Quran we see a very, very famous verse, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذين بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. Good and evil cannot be equal. Respond to evil with what is best. When you're given to evil, try to respond in the best manner. And then the one you are in a feud with will be like a close friend. SubhanAllah, the Quran says that even when you're responded with evil, if you respond with good, then even then you'll be able to soften their hearts. So this is one of the ways that we can be able to show our hilm. This is the ways that we can show our teachings. So inshallah, let's make ourselves one of the best followers of the Ahlul Bayt through this level of hilm, through showing our actions and having that self-control. And when anyone, for example, treats us in a very bad manner, let's respond with goodness. And if that doesn't work, qalu salama. We say salam to you. For you is your path, and for me is mine. Ya Allah, we ask you to help us reach that highest level of hilm. And Ya Allah, we ask you to make us the best of your worshippers, not those who worship you those who only worship you for you are the only one that they found to be truly worthy of worship. And Ya Allah, we ask you to bring us near to our Imam and to make us one of his most loyal companions. And we ask you to keep us from the evil that you have created and bring us towards the khair. And Ya Allah, we ask you to guide us to the straight path, the path that leads us to you. And we ask you, don't take us from this world until, Ya Allah, you have forgiven us. وَجِّلْ اللَّهُمَّ فِي فَرَجِ مَوْلَانَا الصَّاحِبَ الْعَصْرِ وَالزَّمَانِ